This is X. St. Anderson, and welcome to the Principal Podcast today. Today, I'm thrilled to have Jill Lublin. She is a 25-year experienced media magnate. She's a publicity expert. She's an international speaker. She's an author multiple times over. She's made stage appearances all over the place, including with people like Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield. And she's worked with thousands and thousands, over 100,000 clients, trying to help with her signature formula, which we'll learn about a little today. Welcome to the show, Jill.
I am so delighted to be here. Thank you.
So tell us this. Tell us what you do.
So what I do is I really help you get a message that works, get it out and visible, and create that kind of publicity that, frankly, every business person deserves, whether you're a one-person business or small business. It doesn't really matter. And actually, I work mostly with independent service providers and people like you, speakers, authors, coaches, consultants, healers even, and to really create a message that works to get out into the media that drives prospects and clients to you. So that is what I do, is make all that happen with a strategy that's quick and easy and systematic to implement.
That's great. So this is an easy question. How do you do that? How do you help people?
Well, not so easy question, but easy enough. So what I do, I run what I call media mastery intensives, and what they are is really like interactive, get it done on Zoom, highly experiential publicity pieces, and I have actual media there that people can pitch. I have interactive working sessions, so to speak. That publicity actually gets done. I'm a practical kind of woman, so I like people to get things done quickly. So we do have that in the Media Mastery Intensive, and that's one of the ways I deliver. And plus, I also work with people one-on-one and other different ways too. But that's the main program I offer, plus my my customized individual sessions.
Okay. Wonderful. So you have a little bit of a background in public relations. When I say a little bit, I mean like 25-year plus veteran. Tell us about public relations. What is it? Why is it important? You've talked a little bit about that, but maybe you could expand on that.
Sure. Well, the truth is, all of you are doing public relations, whether you like it or not, right? When you walk out your door, when you go into a Zoom room, when you're talking to people, when you're networking, when you're doing business, you are doing public relations. People are, judging you. I mean, not judgy, I mean, but they're deciding whether they want to work with you, who you are. They're looking at your energy. Is that somebody they want to work with? And that is the truth for the way a lot of people work together. And in today's market, particularly in today's market, I think it's really important that you understand that what would I say? That really trust is a very important deciding factor. And, by showing up in media, by having that trust that's given to you by others who say, you must be good, right? It's an immediate assumption. And public relations happens all the time. So I like people to be conscious about it, creative about it, have messages that are integral to you and resonant for who you are, and solve problems in the marketplace so that the media says yes to you.
Yeah, and you feel strongly about having the message correctly done. I mean, so maybe we could expand a little bit on that. What is it? How do you create it?
Well, the message is really about what it is in terms of the problem you solve out in the marketplace. So the first question I love everybody to answer is, what is the problem out there? It's not just, here's what I do. I want people to stop saying that and start talking about what's the problem out there. Because, the media, your local newspaper, radio, television, in blogs and podcasts, all kinds of places, guess what they care about is, like you, X, you care about your listeners, your viewers, right? We got to give some value and benefit to them. Same thing for all of you. You got to give value and benefit to to the listeners and readers and viewers that you're talking to. And I'll tell you, when I wrote Guerrilla Publicity, one of my books, I remember talking to the editor at Entrepreneur Magazine because I asked wonderful media all around the world, actually, what did they love and what did they hate about publicity? And Entrepreneur Magazine said to share with you what she wanted, particularly. She didn't really care about fancy, tactics and techniques. She wanted you to give value and benefit to her readers. That was her consideration. And, if you could do that, talking to entrepreneurs, then you're an Entrepreneur Magazine. And imagine this, how that would really enhance your career, your visibility, your trust, your credibility, and your expertise elevation. Because really, media is earned. You don't just pay for it. It's not advertising. You have to earn it. And there is nothing like earned media to drive those leads to you and to get people saying, I've heard of him somewhere. Now, that's my favorite part. I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. That's what I actually call it.
Right. I like that. So when you're helping people create a like a media script, a great media script, what do you do? What's your secret sauce? What's the thing that makes it great?
The thing that really makes it great is the piece we just spoke of, meaning a clarity in your message, meaning the ability to say what you mean quickly, do it in a way that's easy, make it make sense, and have it be in 5-year-old language. I think most people are talking too above people's heads, and that doesn't help. So no jargon, no fancy words, please. I mean, 5-year-old language, I really mean it. And, it's funny, I often get hired and I'll go into a meeting and I'm like, I have no idea what you just told me, which is probably a good thing because if I don't have any.
Right. Most people wouldn't either, probably, right?
Exactly. And I that's something I really, really impress upon people, that it is about creating simple, easy messages. And I think that's, and again, congruent to who you are, and making sure that it feels right. But I want you to be able to say it no matter how tired you are, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter if it's a good day or bad day. Before, we came in, we were talking about, the earthquake that just came through here and the tsunami. Don't think that, didn't make me a little like off my game for a minute, right? It's
Sure.
scary. Yeah. But listen, I've delivered media interviews, I mean, just in all kinds of circumstances. And the truth is, if you look at media, it always happens no matter what's going on in the world. So I want you to be out there and able to speak intelligently, quickly, and effectively so that others can say yes to you. And most importantly, that the media says yes to you to drive those leads and referrals, which they do, and create that what I'd call consistency and persistency in the marketplace.
I love that. And as you were saying that, what came to my mind was, you look at these big brands, like for example, Nike, and their one of their logos in the past was "Just Do It." I mean, it was literally like 8 letters long, 3
Three
words,
words.
short words, just do it. Or, um, keeping it simple. People knows what "Just Do It" does, whether you're 5 years old or 50 years old. And so they kept it simple, and yet they've been phenomenally successful with that. And so there is something to be said for just keeping it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to use fancy words to look educated or whatever. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, and I'd actually be interested to know how much they actually spent figuring out that campaign. And I'm betting millions of dollars. I'm not kidding. I mean, you all have to understand that these companies invest millions of dollars into publicity, into marketing. And, the good news for you is I'm up to the guerrilla publicity way. So we want you to be highly effective using time and focused messaging to get your message out there effectively and replicate it, so that you can be seen and heard and paid. Always good.
Absolutely. That's great. And backing up just a little bit about something you said previously that I want to hit on a little harder, that we're not talking about the most effective media messages are not about, hey, look at me. The messages are, hey, look at the problem I can solve for you. So it's more you focused. What is it that I can do for you? How can I solve the problem
Exactly.
that you're facing? And so, a lot of our viewers are business people. A lot of them are parents. And being able to get this publicity could help free up some time for them to do better at their business, possibly have more time with their families, with their children, to do what they want to do. And so that's hopefully the problem that you and I are solving right now, is saying, hey, how can we help the people listening get better at getting publicity so that they can have more time and more freedom to do what they want to do?
Absolutely. And I think this is why I love publicity. I call it the gift that keeps on giving, because, what happens is people go, oh, I've seen you somewhere. They literally hear you in an interview or read something, whether it be a blog or in a newspaper article, wherever it is. But what you will see is immediate increase in your website and stats visit. And I have these actually logged. I mean, I have people say I got a 38% or a 45% or even more increase in my web visits. I have a woman who said she sold 42 self-published books in a 15-minute podcast interview. And the list actually goes on and on and on, because it's really about that focus factor, right? All of a sudden your name is there. I have a woman, and she's a consultant, business consultant in Minnesota. She walked into an event, actually an interview, and she was up against 3 other people for a consulting position in this company. And she walked in, and she had been trained by me in my Media Mastery Intensive and learned my system and done it. And she actually got, one of the things she got was one line in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Well, let me tell you something. That's where she lived, Minneapolis. She walks in, and the guy says to her, who was interviewing her, he says, I Googled you, and I see you've been featured in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. See, in his mind, it was featured. That's how powerful publicity is. Guess who got the $35,000 consulting engagement from one line in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune? And there was more. I'm just telling you one line and what that led to. $35,000. That's the power of the ROI on publicity, because what it's doing is instilling in people a faith and a trust that you must be good because the media's already talked about you. It's like your what would I call it? Your tough work has been done for you. So you walk in and be the star that you are with the expertise that you have.
And so there is an ROI. There's an ROI on publicity by doing this. It may not be an immediate, hey, we sold 42 books in 15 minutes. That may happen. It may be more long-term as well. Is that what you're saying?
It's both. It is both. I mean, I've seen both. I've seen immediate, like classes. One of the people got an article in her local newspaper and actually sold 10 $997 courses. That's $10,000 day. That's a really good day. Also, at that same article, got a 48% bump in her website stats. This is a speaker who is putting on workshops. You see where I'm going with this? So my answer is, I see it a lot. Some, yes, are immediate. Some take longer, but the reality is without any publicity, nothing happens, right? Because there's no name recognition or that I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. So what I see is if you practice, and the words are consistency and persistency. If you practice that in the marketplace, that makes all the difference.
And this person who had sold 10 courses in $997, you just referenced, she did that was it with an unpaid? She was not paying to advertise. She was just getting an article in the paper, correct?
She got a huge article in the paper. In the local paper, and that was amazing, right? And it ended up being 4 pictures in it and more about her personally. So here's what's interesting, because she used one of my strategies that also are highly effective, called use everything you've got. And what does that mean? In her case, what does it mean? I'll tell you. Yeah, what it means is the opportunity to use all parts of who you are. In her case, it was an unfortunate ankles accident that happened, meaning she broke both ankles, and then got this article about transforming and the difference that made actually with creating hope and a TV show on that and all kinds of different things. But the point is using everything you've got. Like another woman I'm privileged to work with who's a business communications consultant. and a speaker. And, we do some great stories about how to communicate effectively in business. Yay. And that gets her a lot of publicity. But let me tell you something. Use everything she's got. She is a Black woman. And we use for Black History Month, her story changes to how to be a powerful Black woman and communicate well in today's times. Now, that's a different story. That story got her into, check this out, Black Enterprise, which is one of the biggest business publications there is. It got her into Essence magazine. See, this is exciting to me. It completely shifted by using everything she's got. So what I want to ask all of you is, what could you be using that could be something you could, be talking about that's unique and different? And if I may, I'll give you another example of that. There was a woman in my Media Mastery Intensive, and I remember looking across the screen. Like I said, they're done on Zoom. And I said, may I ask you, what ethnicity are you? And she says, I'm Filipino. Well, at that time, you remember hashtag Stop Asian Hate, right? Well, at that time, she'd come in and she wanted to really promote her digital marketing agency. 28 years old. She was just starting that business. And I said, would you be willing, because you're here because you want publicity, right? She said, yes, absolutely. You want to grow your business, right? She said, yes. Okay, let me ask you, would you be willing to go out there and talk about Stop Asian Hate? She said, yes, I would. I said, great. Let me tell you, this is the opportunity to get your name out there and be much more visible. And here's how we're going to do it. You're going to talk about that. Well, guess who got into, check this out. It was the Filipino Business Journal's 30 under 30, right? Top 30 under 30 businesses for her digital marketing agency. But how she got in is because she's Filipino. You see, that's how that ties in. Guess what? That led her to get a speaking engagement with Les Brown. I mean, that was something she'd been dreaming about. Now she could send Les Brown her publicity. She could send him how she's been featured. Her whole status was elevated. And I'm going to tell you that being featured in top 30 under 30 Filipino businesses elevated her status, drove her social media marketing agency, enabled her to start a fantastic and powerful business. And I will tell you, had honestly nothing to do with much of that article and, that rating, but everything to do with who she was. So I hope that's inspiring some of you to think about, how could I be using different parts of who I am and what I do out in the world?
That's right. I love that. How can you use everything you've got? It was really interesting. And I have full, let me tell you something. As you said this, I wrote a book many years ago. It was about how to get past gatekeepers to decision makers. And it was lucky because I used the techniques in that book to get through to this Forbes writer. She agreed to write a Forbes article on it. And she actually put in the first line, it said, this first-time author used the strategies in his book to get through to me, something like that. A busy CEO with unpaid gig writing Forbes. And well, that one Forbes article, after it happened, a local TV station said, hey, we'd like to interview you. There were some people who called up and said, hey, we'd like you to come train our people how to get past gatekeepers. And it allowed me eventually, and of course there was other things involved, but it was a kind of a springboard that has allowed me to speak across the country from Maine to San Francisco. That one thing. So I really do believe that getting the right publicity, which is what you help people do, Jill, is very valuable. And it's something that we all could look for. Let me ask you one more question. What is the ooh-ah factor? Maybe you've touched on it, but maybe we could touch on it briefly again.
Absolutely. But before I do that, I just want to say congratulations. And that is awesome. And what you also indicated there is that the media is just like us. I mean, they're ordinary people. And if you employ certain tactics, like I wrote a book called The Profit of Kindness, I've had people tell me, you got the interview because you were kind. You employed your own tactics about how to reach the gatekeeper. And they appreciate that you walk your talk, right? And that is using everything you've got, right? And I think that's important. So your ooh, ah factor is about who are you? Like, what is it that's interesting, unique, unusual, perhaps about you in the world? What could we talk about that is something a little different? Like if you're a woman, let's go out for International Women's Day. With my book, The Profit of Kindness, I went out for World Kindness Day. I also go out for Random Acts of Kindness Week. And you know what I say? I actually take a contrary position. I say, forget random acts of kindness. Let's practice conscious acts of kindness every single day. That's a contrary position on kindness, which, by the way, is a soft topic. And I'm getting tons of publicity on that. It was actually just on Fox News in Dallas, Fox News in the Bay Area, just two examples using kindness as a way in and talking about, interestingly enough, the divided states of America. That's use everything you've got.
Right. So something that's timely and that's in the news at the same time. I can hear
Exactly.
some people might think, well, there's nothing ooh ah about me. There's nothing ooh, I don't have anything on any, like some people have the ooh ah factor, but I don't. What would you say to those people, Jill?
I'd say I don't believe you. I'd say,
I'd,
tell
I'd
me
agree
your
with you.
story.
Mhm.
Yes, I don't agree with you. Tell me your story. I mean, I had Ryan who came running up to me after I spoke at an event. He goes, I really want to work with you. And I'm starting my instructional design company. And I said, what's that? And he told me. And I said, no offense, Ryan, that's boring. That's not going to get you publicity. Tell me your story. Ryan told me that he'd been downsized from a corporate job. He had a pregnant wife with their third child on the way. He just bought a big house. Now he's got a big mortgage payment, a large wife because she's having his baby, and on top of that, no job. I'm like, well, now that's interesting. Ryan, what'd you do? He said, well, I started my own company and online. He literally had 8 people within 24 hours doing instructional design, all online, all virtual. I thought, well, now that's interesting. So I made Ryan into a virtual office warrior. Now, the acronym for that is VOW, Virtual Office Warrior. And he took a vow never to work in an office again. Now, is that ooh ah a little bit? Because let
There
me
it
tell
is.
you, if you guys don't think so, that story got him 9 months of publicity. I'm not kidding. Starting with the front page of the San Francisco Business Journal, where he was based, front page. Imagine that for you. Oh boy. And then on top of that, he got all kinds of publicity consistently, including Mac Home Journal. Ryan laughs because he goes, Jill, I don't even have a Mac. But he had a great story for Mac Home Journal readers. He got into Entrepreneur Magazine. Imagine this, you an entrepreneur? Oh, yes, he was twice actually. And then so many places and spaces using everything he's got, including the fact that he's Asian American. Now, I'm going to tell you the really fun one too. Although he doesn't speak a word of Chinese, we actually translated his articles into Chinese and placed them into the Chinese Times. Do you know that's the power of using everything you've got? His ooh ah factor. That one story in the Chinese Times got him a $7,000 consulting client, way beyond the fee that he ever paid me, just saying. And let me share with you, that was just one of the results, one of the high ROIs on a placement on a really wonderful, productive publicity campaign that was completely different than what he ever expected, but most importantly, highly productive, highly profitable with great leads and a business that's now thriving and consistent for him.
Wonderful. That's great. And just to reiterate, I think a lot of people who think they don't have a good story, just thinking about that, how many people out there have found themselves in a situation where they were laid off, wondering how they're going to make ends meet. And so his kind of problem, his challenge, his mess became his messages. Have you heard some people say like, so sometimes when you say, oh, I don't have any ooh factor, well, you might. Maybe just your normal challenges that you don't think are a big deal might just really resonate with someone else. And so that's important for our listeners to remember that you do have
Absolutely.
something, right?
Absolutely. And I think each of you have it. We pull it out a little bit. Sometimes you just don't see it. My business consultant, a woman who has a son who's autistic, she never thought about utilizing that for National Autism Month that now is helping lots of other mothers, lots of other parents help with not only their children who might be autistic, but also their own careers. How do we do both? What do we do? That's what she's talking about during National Autism Month, not about her business consulting, which, by the way, drives all kinds of great business to her business site, because that's the website she's giving out. That's where people can get a hold of her.
That's wonderful. Jill, thank you for being on the show today. I know you have a great offer to work with you. I mean, can you tell us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, I want to give you all a great gift, which is we talked about a lot of great publicity tips here today, and I've got even more for you. And I did it into my publicity action guide, and I'm super excited to give that to you. And it also includes an additional gift where you and me, we're going to be in an interactive publicity masterclass, completely free. I'll answer your questions and enable you to get great publicity advice, live one-on-one interactive with me. So to get that, you can go to jilllublin.com/guide, and it would be wonderful to have you there. jilllublin.com/guide.
Right, jilllublin.com/guide. We'll put that in the show notes if you want to look it up. Jill, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. It's been an honor to have you. And for our listeners, thank you for listening to the Principal Podcast.